So my dad is from a small town in Ohio called Youngstown, which has recently become a really big fracking town, which is good for it because fracking brings new jobs to the town through its industry, and also brings new people who are attracted to jobs and can also create new businesses for a place that is struggling economically. And I still have a lot of family that lives in Youngstown, and I talk with my grandma quite frequently. And this past year I got a call from her on New Year's Day saying that there had been an earthquake in Youngstown and that she was fine, but that the earthquake was directly linked to fracking in the town. So I looked it up, and apparently fracking isn't all as good as it seems, which is what I'm going to talk to you today about. So what is fracking? Fracking is a technique used by the oil companies in which they drill down thousands of feet into the shale rock to find minerals that are otherwise inaccessible. Once they drill down, they drill horizontally into the shale rock and then pump pressurized water that is usually hot and filled with sand or chemicals to create cracks or fractures in the rock, and that's where it got its name fracking from. And once they pump in the water down, it opens up the cracks and the minerals get out, and then they pump the minerals back up to the earth and collect them. So why is it so bad? Well, there are three arguments that are mainly made with fracking, and the three are threatens the air quality, and contaminates groundwater, which is in turn drinking water for people, and the possibility of earthquakes. First one I want to talk about is earthquakes. So according to the National Research Council, fracking is not directly linked to earthquakes. After a study they did of 35,000 wells and only found one instance where an earthquake was caused by fracking, which is really good odds and pretty much zero chance of earthquakes happening. But what about Youngstown, that suffered a 4.0 magnitude earthquake from fracking in their town? Well, the reason for that is the carelessness that took place by the drilling company that drilled directly on top of a fault line in Youngstown. And when they drilled onto it and the pressure from the water went down, it caused the fault line to create an earthquake. But the thing about it is people will probably think it's not a big deal, one earthquake, but according to U.S. News, until 2011, Youngstown never had an earthquake. And since fracking's been there, there's been 11 earthquakes, which is quite an astounding number. The next problem is air quality. People who are for fracking say that there's nothing wrong with the air quality. In fact, it improves it. Fracking provides us with cheap natural gas, which is being used more and more. And it actually cuts down on greenhouse gases because we're using it. And according to Slate magazine, natural gas emits 45% less carbon per energy unit, and our CO2 levels are at their lowest in 20 years. So it seems like fracking isn't affecting the air. But I bet if you were to ask the people who live near the wells, that there's a completely different story going on. When fracking occurs, there's gases that are released from the ground that are usually poisonous. And according to The Atlantic, people who live near the wells are being exposed to pollutants, including the known carcinogen benzene. And the problem with this is that wells are being put in high populated areas, and they keep going up. Last I'm going to talk about the groundwater, which is the most controversial topic with fracking. And there are people on both sides of the argument. But according to Penn State University, fracking is not linked to contaminated groundwater after they tested 233 wells and found no evidence. On the other side of the argument, people who live near the wells, again, say that their water is contaminated. And the reason for this is because fracking companies mix chemicals in the water that they pump down into the ground to release the minerals, and that water gets contaminated and ruins tap water for people who live in the area. And according to Targeted News Service, the fracking industry is exempted from elements of the Safe Water Act and the Clean Water Drinking Act. So what makes them so special that they get to, bypass these laws just to make money? And I have a video for you guys to show you what these people are going through. Alright, so the most common gas that is found in water is methane, which isn't normally a problem because it's in small amounts, but because of fracking, people that live in these states can actually set their tap water on fire. And according to the Gas Drilling Awareness Coalition, her tap water was at 0.01 milligrams per liter before fracking, and afterwards it turned up to 64 milligrams per liter. And they try to say that it didn't cause anything, but as you can see, the water is pretty flammable. So I don't know how you guys like your water, but I'm pretty sure I don't like mine. So after you see all the harm that fracking has caused and the harm that it can cause to the community and to the environment, it's time that we stand up to the oil companies.